This is what the Crystal Light is meant for. High resolution, high-end PC VR flight simulation experiences that is pretty much as good as the top-end headsets, but it's not a high-end price. Oh crap, that's a bit of a... It's like I hit a microburst there or something.
Welcome back to the channel and thank you for being here. Just to say, this video is proudly sponsored by FS Academy, and they've got a new bundle called Zero to Hero, which offer 5 training packs in one package. That is IFR, VFR, Jetliner, Navigator and Commander. Priced at $69.99, this represents roughly around 40% discount from the full lineup, with a total of 60 training missions produced by a real-world airline captain. All the links for FS Academy will be in the description below. Anyway, it's now time to get into today's video. Welcome back. We are in the Pimax Crystal Light. If you haven't seen my first impressions, I will link that in the description below, but this is a new Pimax headset. I'm going to talk about it in a bit more detail, having now used it for over a week. And this also marks the start of a new series. We're going to take the black square high fidelity study level turbine Duke all the way from Scotland to the USA. How about that? So in this particular series, I'm going to use different headsets. I was even thinking about using the Reaver G2 again. So let me know in the comments below what headsets you'd like to see on this series. As you can probably hear, it's very, very windy here today, and kind of what you'd expect really, as we are right at the top of Scotland. So pre-flight inspection has been completed. We've just taken the control locks off. Seat and seat belts are secure. Cabin doors are latched, I think. I always get this bit wrong actually, because when I've done that in the past I haven't checked. So, and the doors all work in this. Baggage door is locked, landing gear is down, switches are all off, engine avionics are off, oxygen pressure is in the correct limits, circuit breakers are in, bleed air is off. Oh, visuals in this. In the Pimax Crystal, guys, there's a reason why I'm so excited about this headset. I'm actually more excited about this headset than I am any other VR headset I've used this year. And the reason being, you now can buy a headset which is relatively affordable. I say that because it all depends on your financial situation, of course, but this, for the price, is absolutely phenomenal value for money, because it's all about those lenses in this. The 35 ppd panel in this is superb and rivals that of even the best of the best. When I've been testing out the Faroe XR4, it can't really do any more resolution than this can in MSFS, which is definitely worth thinking about here as we do our checks. Yeah, that's all working good. To make sure these systems are working, guys, because it's possible that one day you'll go and start this up and something is broken. Or even worse than that, you may have to take the problem into the air. So yeah, circuit breakers are all in. Prop is fully forward. And I think we're ready for an engine start. So here we go. Listen to these epic sounds by a guy called Boris. If you're watching this, you have done this bird proud. Top at about 17.7 or so percent. Yep, let's introduce fuel. Oh, let's do that. We'll do the same now for the left-hand side. It's always quite an event starting the turbine Duke, especially the piston Duke. That's very exciting, the way it rattles and shakes and everything. Oh, the DMAS speakers, absolutely rocking this. They're better than pretty much most audio solutions you can get for headsets. I mean, I think the G2 and Index audio is slightly better, but I'm really nitpicking there. This is very much on par. Very, very similar. That is a good start, both sides. Avionics are coming on. Taxi light switched on there. We'll
fact, should have put the beacon on before. Whoops. Hopefully no one noticed. Radar is now on. Right then, so we've just done our final checks. I have just adjusted the audio slightly. Sorry if the microphone was peaking. It's basically because I'm shouting over these engines. It's honestly, as I've been using the Somnium VR1 with no audio, and I've been using the XR4 with the integrated audio, but it doesn't sound anywhere near as good as this. I've been using the Quest. It's just so nice to get back to a headset with really good quality audio. And I would highly recommend, if you're going for a Crystal Light, you've just got to go for the DMAS speakers. Well guys, sorry about that. My mod mic battery ran out. So there I was yapping away and realised you couldn't hear me. So I'm now using the Pimax Crystal Light microphone. And I'm really sorry, it probably doesn't sound very good at all. But yeah, not a lot I can do about that really at the moment. That's the joys of YouTubing, unfortunately. And it just annoys me that a lot of VR headsets just don't have decent microphones. That is a definite negative for the Crystal Light. Right, so you won't know this guys, obviously, but I just stopped the video and listened to the microphone back. And yes, it does sound a bit tinny, a bit lacking in bass, but they've definitely improved it from my first video. So that's encouraging. You never know. There might be hope yet. It's a shame because the standard Crystal has a really good microphone, but it pops and crackles and it's like a static pop that happens every now and then, which is more irritating in my opinion than this microphone, which although sounds a little bit nasally, in some ways is quite realistic because that's how you would sound with a pair of aircraft headphones on, you know, like a Bose pair of headphones. So maybe it's to make things more immersive. We'll go with that. Right, we're now at cruise altitude already. Wow. So prop is now coming back to 2000 RPM. You know, I am going to harp on a little bit, and I can't help it, about the sound of these DMAS speakers. They're so good. And you know, you buy these add-ons, don't you, like the Turbine Duke, the Fly9 Spitfire, you know, your DCS aircraft, and the developers spend so much time getting the sound of that aircraft spot on, only for your headset to have rubbish audio. So I do feel it's really important, if you can stretch to it, to go for the DMAS version. Even if you say you can't afford it right now, don't worry, you can get the DMAS speakers later on, because the SMAS, I think it's called, is removable. Look at this, wow. So we're saying goodbye now to the UK and embarking on our journey. And the reason why it's so exciting for me is because aircraft like the Turbine Duke, well, anything could happen. Just like in the real world, you've got that sort of thought in the back of your mind thinking, what if that engine goes now? I'm over water. What if it's an electrical problem? What if this, that and the other goes wrong? You look at all your gauges like a hawk, and you really do think like a real pilot would. I love that feeling. And it actually reminds me of my real feelings when I go away on the motorbike, because I often do big motorcycle trips all around Europe and Scandinavia and beyond, and I often have a certain excitement and feeling of trepidation before a big trip. And I kind of feel a bit like that in here. And that is thanks to a combination of factors making me feel this immersed. The first thing is that, of course, the sim. Asobo's MSFS, as much as we do moan about this sim, it is a phenomenal flight sim. This was a hammer blow to the likes of X-Plane, and in my opinion this is still the better sim, especially for GA pilots. Then you've got aircraft like this. To me, this is like a living, breathing Turbine Duke sat inside of my computer. It's like it's kind of been condensed into my hard drive, and when I load it up and put my VR headset on, it becomes a real aircraft. It's so cool. And then you've got the VR headset, which brings me nicely back round to the Crystal Light. I really do love this headset already, and even in my first impressions stroke review, because it ended up being a review because I concluded it there and then, I fully recommend this headset. I really do, and I don't think I've said that since getting the Reverb G2. How long ago was that now? And I don't think I felt this excited since then either, because it's all very well me showing off super high-end VR headsets like the Somnium VR1 and Vario XR4, which are like the top tier, amazing. And it is exciting to see where VR tech is going, because all this stuff trickles down the ladder. But in terms of most of you watching my channel, I appreciate that this hobby is expensive. And finally, that high-end technology such as the QLED panels and the spheric lenses of the Vario Aero, that high resolution has come down to this price point. And to be able to get a Crystal Light for under £1,000 in today's economy is great news for our industry, our hobby. It's a massive deal. I cannot say that enough. And then when I think about how does this compare to the £4,000 XR4, which is so close to being my favourite headset, well, when I put this on, the display in it looks as sharp. It does look as sharp, because at the end of the day, the XR4 can only achieve 35 ppd as well in MSFS, so I'm at the same or similar resolutions. This performs better because it's got a slightly, the field of view isn't quite as big as the XR4. I mean, that's a definite obvious when you go and do an A/B comparison. But I think from people coming from the Reverb G2 and Vario Aero, you're going to be really impressed with the field of view, even in the Crystal Light. But I think the two things I love the most about the Crystal Light, apart from the obvious, and that is the clarity, the colours, all that kind of thing, is the fact that this has no battery. I can't tell you the amount of times now that I've gone to check the battery, you know, in the Pimax Play software, or thought maybe I should start thinking about changing the battery because I've been flying for a couple of hours. I don't need to think about batteries anymore. That in itself is a huge deal for us, especially someone like me who likes to fly for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to have to if I'm going to reach the US before Christmas. And then of course I think the third thing that I love about the Crystal the most, if I say the display first, which is obvious, then the no battery, is the comfort. Don't be fooled by what you see on the camera here. This is a very comfortable headset. It feels, like I said before with the original Crystal, it feels like you put a helmet on your head, although this one's made of carbon fibre and it's super light. I actually quite like how it kind of hugs your, head, and it makes you feel enclosed with these speakers. It makes you feel like you've got a helmet on. I really like it. And yes, it's not as comfortable as the big screen beyond, but then the big screen beyond doesn't have visuals that look anywhere near as good as this. Apparently we're quite cold in the cabin, so let me just change that. So that's a big deal, the comfort. And then another thing I love about the Crystal Light, having now used it for a week, is the stability and reliability. This thing, you switch it on and it works every single time. Very much like actually the Aero and Big Screen Beyond and the Somnium VR1. It's funny because I was using the XR4 the other day, as you know, and when you switch it on, right, it takes about a minute even to load up. It's like a computer in itself. You hear the fans kicking in and the motorized IPD, and then it says, you know, like headset now starting on the Vario base. And you're like, come on, hurry up. And then when I got into my motion rig, it lost tracking. I was like, for God's sake, but I did finally get a flight in, but it took me about 10 minutes by the time I was flying. With the Pimax Crystal, and I've never said this about any Pimax headset before, you literally switch it on and you go flying. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it really does make all the difference, because often, and I'm sure you felt the same, you've gone for a flight or you fancy going for a flight, but then something goes wrong. You have to restart the sim, or the headset doesn't connect, or some other problem. And in the end, by the time you go flying, it's about an hour later and you're pissed off with it. You can't be bothered. You'll just go and make some rhubarb and apple crumble instead. I don't know. Take the dog out for a walk. Go and play table tennis. But with this, no, you're still in that good mood. You're still in that point where you really fancy a flight, and you are straight into the headset. So again, I am so glad that Pimax have listened to all the moaning I've been doing to them and all the feedback from the community and other YouTubers as well, and we've finally got the Crystal that we almost want. Why did I say almost? Well, of course, the elephant in the room is the eye tracking. I know, guys. If this had eye tracking, it probably would be all things to all men, and you probably wouldn't even think about any other headset. But I must admit, eye tracking is a shame. But keep in mind, most of my channel are about civilian flight simulators. I'm thinking about using this in X-Plane soon, by the way. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see X-Plane 12 back on the channel again. It's been a while. I think it doesn't really matter because, of course, eye tracking you don't benefit from it at all in this sim. And I'm not so sure that MSFS 2024 is going to be any different. Now, in terms of DCS world, holy crap, does it make a difference? Wow, I keep getting a bit of bump here and there. I know what it is. It's because I'm brushing up against my trim wheel and it keeps falling asleep. It's my Cessna Side-Tech trim wheel. So yeah, with all those things I've just said, and then the DMAS speakers as well, and the local dimming, you're getting a fantastic headset for a fantastic price. It's as simple as that. It really is. I love it. I love this headset. Absolutely. I think it's a refreshing breath of air for the PCVR simulation crowd. I really do. Right, anyway, let's just check the cruise checklist. I think we should be all good. Ignition is on auto, oil doors are closed, ice deflectors not needed, pitot heats, yes, we have that on. Windshield heat not needed, prop heat not needed. Surface de-ice, fuel imbalance, we're currently at 33, 34, sorry that's the amps, you idiot. Hang on, when we're looking. I did that because in the piston juke it is a digital display, I think. 101 and 102, so yeah, 102 gallons, that's fine. Prop 2000 RPM, power levers. Actually, I can push them a bit further, but I say that I can't really because we're already at our maximum indicated airspeed, and ITT can't really push that too much more. So 72%, that's all good there. Cabin temperature mode is all good, cabin pressure is all good, engine performance is good, and I've just noticed actually we're getting a bit of icing on the windshield, so we'll bang this on and look at this as the volts shoot up. And the way it kind of settles as well, I love it. It's so good. And just check this out as well, guys. Want to see what's all going on in the systems? It's all there, a visual representation of everything that's going on here. It is 9 degrees in the cabin though, so I do need to sort that out. Maybe go to manual heat. Increase the temperature. Keep the blower on high, and hopefully that will start climbing pretty damn fast. So yeah, for me, this is what the Crystal Light is meant for. High resolution, high end PC VR flight simulation experiences that is pretty much as good as the top end headsets, but it's not a high end price. Makes me very happy, this does. And I tell you what, guys, you are awesome, because all of you who have used my affiliate link, all that money, which I'll probably get at some point in the next few months, will go straight back into this channel. So what you've done is you've given me motivation, but also funds to be able to continue making content for this channel, because it's got quite serious this last, well, probably last 6 months or so, and I'm struggling and I'm starting to burn out a little bit. I have thought about kind of either just calling it a day, or maybe just really stripping back content. I don't really want to do that because there's so much going on at the moment. But it's you guys out there that support the channel with your comments. I've even had a few donations recently, so it really does make all the difference. Thank you so much. And if you do wish to support the channel and you're looking at getting a Crystal Light, feel free to use that link. No pressure at all. I won't be offended if you don't. That's absolutely fine. But it makes all the difference to me. It really does. So I'm going to settle now into this flight. I'm looking very precarious at the sea there and all the white caps, and thinking, please Turbine Duke, let's make it safely to the US, because a lot of this trip is going to be over the sea. Catch you a little bit further up the road as we head closer to the Faroe Islands in the Pimax Crystal Light. Fantastic. Welcome back. So the Faroe Islands is right in front of us there, and it's been a decent flight so far, nothing too eventful. A little bit of icing, but I'm expecting quite a bit of that on this trip, so we'll see. And this aircraft is equipped with boots on the wings, on the leading edges that is, and it's all modelled with this aircraft. But having said that, it's not like amazingly equipped for dealing with ice, so we've got to be very, very careful. Look at that there. See the airliner. That is FS traffic doing its thing. So I thought I'd just mention some of the things that I don't like so much about the Crystal Light. I think the obvious thing is the form factor. Even though it is comfortable, it's still a big headset, and I guess they could have made it a bit smaller. Probably mainly they could have made it not quite so wide, but all that extra R&D would have added on to the cost. So I kind of understand why they didn't do that, but it's still a shame, because this could be a little bit smaller than this. Having said that though, if it was any smaller than this, it would probably need fans to cool it down, because it's a big area for air to move around. Talking of that, it does get a little bit hot at the front after about an hour and a half. I mean, it's not an issue, but I thought I would mention it. It does get a little bit warm, but so did the Riva D2, and nothing like the Vive Pro 2. That thing was like an oven on your face. It's horrible. And even the big screen beyond gets quite hot, so don't get too alarmed by that. That's kind of normal. But I must admit, with headsets such as the XR4 and Sony VR1, with all the clever active cooling, you definitely notice it when you don't have it. It's the best way I can describe that. What else? Eye tracking, that's another one. But having said that, that would make this more expensive. And they're trying to make some money here, guys. Pimax do need to earn a living. And I'm telling you, these displays are very expensive. They've spent the money where it counts. I guess it's a shame that... I was going to say it's a shame it doesn't have DMAS audio as standard. But again, it's a very high quality addition that I think... in some ways, if I compare it to other headsets that don't even have audio, or if they do, it sounds nothing like this, then I suppose again it's fair enough that it's, you know, it's an option. I guess chromatic aberration could be another one, but the Vario headsets are worse for it. And keep in mind, the XR4 is used to train real pilots. So how picky can you be with this sort of stuff? But that's kind of it for me at the moment. Can't really think of anything else. Anyway, let's start descending. And I think Melissa's back home, so my dogs are going to start woofing and going crazy. So apologies if you can hear that. A little bit of an immersion breaker there, but we are near the Faroe Islands. I'm just going to do a steady descent down now and do our descent checklist. So ignitions are still auto, cabin altitude set to destination altitude, so that will be pretty much sea level, I'd imagine. So we'll just do that now. Takes a while to scroll this, but I recommend holding it down with your mouse and then scrolling. You probably don't even know what I'm looking at. Looking at this, and I am overspeeding. Even the way that comes on really like slowly, not just a generic sound that just goes on and off, but it kind of beeps ever so slowly and gets louder. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. This aircraft, I'm telling you guys, it is superb. Right, engine power, all of that power levers reduced, so I've done that now. Engine performance monitor, ice protection as required. Seats and seat belts are secure. Cabin altitude, we'll keep checking that as we go down. Fuel selectors are on. And fuel imbalance, 79 gallons each side. Perfect. Recoil lights, they are on. Yes, they are. Windshield heat off. Keep it on for the time being. Yeah, we're all good here. One thing I have noticed, it seems that the cabin is often too cold even when I've got my heating on, so I'm doing something wrong there. So any of you Turbine Duke pilots can let me know what I'm doing wrong there. I would really appreciate it. But looking good, and the scenery should get pretty interesting now, simply because the Faroe Islands are very dramatic. I'd love to go there in real life sometime. Oh god, this display is so good. There's so many other great things about the Crystal Light, so many. In fact, I might do a video soon of the best features of this headset, because there's so many. It's so refreshing to have a headset that just works and works well and makes so much sense as an upgrade for pretty much all of the flight simmers out there and race simmers. It rocks. It's brilliant. I love this headset. Just buy it, folks. I never say things like that, but I just recommend it. I really do. It's brilliant. It's worked perfectly. I've used it loads this week. Hasn't put a foot wrong. What else can you say? Spatial sounds in this sound incredible. And yeah, join me for this spectacular approach into the Faroe Islands, our first leg of the epic UK to US ferry flight in the Turbine Duke. So things are starting to get quite spectacular now. I'm also a little bit concerned by the weather. Just zoom in for you here, look at that. We have got some rain around, and it's quite low cloud. I'm now at 5,000 feet, and that looks quite thick out there, and even worse than that is the fact that we've got a lot of mountains to try and dodge, and we don't have synthetic vision, and we're not doing a published approach because that doesn't exist for this airport. So with all that in mind, this could get interesting, but that's what this trip is all about. It's an adventure. I just hope we make it to our destination in one piece, because I'm trying to imagine that I'm basically delivering this beautiful, pristine Turbine Duke to an owner in the USA. Right, let's get this table stowed. It's time to get back to work. Get this aircraft configured for landing. I'm getting a few bumps here as well, no doubt from the terrain. So I'm not quite sure how bad this is going to be. The wind, 24 knots. Looks like we can get straight in there. So I am going to go hands-on in a moment. I think we're going to put the ice deflectors on, which is essentially, I think, like an inertial separator for the engine. See, that's coming on now. Look, you see that? Got no fog at the moment, but we are going to be going into some heavy showers, I would imagine. We'll put that on. Keep the pitot heat on. At the moment we're 24 degrees in the cabin, so it has climbed a bit. That's good. I'm going to switch the ignitions to the on position, and landing lights can come on now as well. Notice how I did that without any MR. I mean, as much as I love mixed reality, I really do, as you know, and it's the ultimate experience to be able to have the convenience of seeing your own controls, but muscle memory is a thing. And after a while you do get used to where all your switches are. You definitely do. Look at this, look, wow. So just to warn you guys that I reckon what's going to happen is, because Melissa is back from work any moment, so when we get on the approach, you're going to hear a absolute stampede of dogs barking and going mental. Okay, so that's going to happen when we get on the approach, because that's how life is, isn't it? You know, you know what it's like, folks. Everything happens when you're trying to land, so expect that to happen, just to give us a bit more of a challenge. Oh, that looks so good down there. Sure, I bet you can see the Northern Lights really well from here on a clear day. Having said that, I saw them from my back garden just the other day. I'll put a shot in now of me and Melissa with the Northern Lights right over us, and you didn't even need a phone to see them. It was so clear, I couldn't believe it. Because I've been meaning to travel to Iceland for a couple of years now to see the Northern Lights, but I'm so pleased we didn't, because we had our own display across the fields, literally right where we live, because we live right in the countryside. And funny enough, there was a photographer there right at that moment when it happened, because I think he knew all about it, and he took that picture of us both. It must have been at least an hour display as well. Absolutely incredible sight that was. Felt very lucky. I've always wanted to see the Northern Lights, and then funny enough I end up seeing them just 2 minutes away from my own house. Right then, this is where things get a bit serious, because this is going to be a very, very difficult approach. That's my trim wheel, by the way. It falls asleep, and then what happens is you wake it up and it goes a bit crazy. Right, okay. Let's hope we don't mess this up on our first leg, but it's already getting very challenging. Oh my word, look at this. Those visuals, it's exactly what the crystal is made for. But they're fading away because it's raining. Now, unfortunately, the tower is not manned either. So we'll make a blind call. And we'll just say we're on finals.
Echo Kilo Victor Golf Traffic Beechcraft Victor Romeo Foxtrot Sierra Golf is on final runway tree 0 to land.
All we've got is this. In fact, that's a bit cluttered. Can we get rid of some of that stuff? There we go. Oh my goodness. Right, gear coming down. The trouble is, I'm going in blind here, and there's loads of... the terrain is so mountainous. That load of rain is in the worst place possible. Let's just see what happens here, guys. Wish me luck. This is my first full flight on the channel in the Pimax Crystal Light, and it's clearly going to be quite a dramatic one. I can't wait for all of you guys to receive your Crystal Lights. You're going to absolutely love it. Especially for those coming from Fresnel headsets. And even the Quest 3 in my opinion, because the Quest 3 has fantastic optics, but it's not a native DisplayPort connection. It has an LCD panel, and the resolution is also inferior. Slow it right down. Okay, props fully forward now, because we might need to go around, even if that is possible. After scud run. But this wall of cloud and rain is right down to the ground here. Flaps set to approach. T's and P's all looking good. Cannot see a damn thing. Please shout, guys, if you see the airport. I'm worried I'm going to be basically flying straight into a mountain here. Where is it? I don't even know where it is. We're still 3 minutes away. And this is just sea. Oh my god. In any moment the dogs are going to make me jump and start woofing as well, just to make this even worse. They love doing that to me. Is it over that ridge there? Well, let's just take away. We know it's raining. Get rid of that. I see. Right. Okay. So it's to the left of this ridge here. I think. No, I see. Right. I'm going to have to... Oh, this is crazy. Put your seatbelts on, guys. You're going to need them. Checking for ice. Wow. Just trying to keep some kind of visual reference of the ground here best I can. Oh, feeling the turbulence of the mountains there. Yeah, I can already tell this series is going to be one hell of an adventure here. Right, we've cleared that ridge. Hopefully we should be all good now. Oh, I've seen the runway. Oh my god, it's over there. Okay. Taking action. can really feel the wind as well. And keep in mind the turbine Duke, and now the temperature's too high in the cabin. Let's turn that off, it's supposed to be off anyway. The turbine engine has a lot of lag, like the real thing. So you definitely have to keep momentum up. Okay, this might just work. That's a nice big runway as well. Full flaps. Pimax Crystal Light. DOF Reality H2 coming in now for our first leg from the UK. I'd love to know the wind. 25 knots. Put a crab in here. Time to get to work. Oh crap, that's a bit of a... Oh, it's like I hit a microburst there or something. Oh. Left rudder in there. Just like you do in the real thing. Oh my word, and we're down. Welcome to the Faroe Islands, folks. That was exhilarating, especially in a motion rig as well. My word. I actually think that sets the scene well for this trip. This is kind of what I expected, really. I hope you enjoyed that, folks, today. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you did get this far. This is my first week with the Pimax Crystal Light, doing what I love to do the most, that is flight simulation, adventure, and high-end VR. And there's the dogs. I'll see you again very soon, folks. Take care and bye for now. Episode 2 coming up very soon. Looks like I better take the dogs out for a walk. Alright guys, I'm coming. Whew. Oh, look at that, the way the wind as well was against the door. Very cool.